Not Dodge, not Chevrolet, not Toyota. Maybe the best truck on the market also is the last name of our guest here today. Sir, if you would, tell us who you are.
My name is Mike Ford.
And for those of you that don't know, the F-250 is built right off the Gene Snyder Freeway there in Jefferson County. So shout out to the F-250 plant. But Mike, man, you've been a fixture in Kentucky wrestling for as long as I can remember. I think you officiated me a few times in school, if memory serves me correctly. So how long have you been officiating?
I have been officiating for about 24 years. I think I'm in my 24th year.
Okay.
I got into officiating because after wrestling in high school and basically being one of the B team guys, reserve guys that got beat up by the A team guys, I really kind of lost interest for several years until my son tried to wrestle at Woodford County, and like his dad, he was one of the B team guys. And I followed him through his time at Woodford County, went to all of his meets, tried to root him on. But as I was doing this, man, I wanted to be out there in some capacity. And I knew that I didn't have the ability to coach kids to bring them along past the level of perhaps some basic stuff. Mm-hmm. So I decided that the best way I could give back and be involved is to become an official. So yeah, here we are today.
And let's go back. Let's wind the clock back. Where did you wrestle at? I don't think everybody knows that.
I wrestled in Indiana in a little country town called New Palestine, Indiana. Now, since they had a really strong program when I was there, but since I've left, they have produced some national Red, Chad Red. A lot of you guys will know that name. He's out of New Palestine just a few years ago. So their program is pretty hot right now. So it's kind of neat. I try to follow them on the hometown wrestling page from time to time.
I get it. So that's, I know, you're, like I said, you're a fixture in the state of, officiating. I know people have seen you over the years. So it'd be kind of cool to know that, where you wrestled at and you actually, did wrestle in school, because that's what we're finding is we're making the push for referees to join us. You've been a member of the Kentucky Wrestling Officials Association, been on the board, I guess, since its inception, and we're trying to get just about anybody that has any knowledge, any experience, if you will, in wrestling. But when you know that when you're a wrestler and you know that your referee has wrestled in school, they know what you go through, it's kind of, I don't want to say a comforting feeling, but at least the ref knows, hey, I had to cut weight on the bus ride up here. I had to, run a little bit after school today for this duel or whatever. So, we like to give everybody their glory day times, if you will, back when we were all in those teenage years. So, Mike, you said you've been officiating for about 24 years. When was your first Kentucky State tournament? Do you remember that? What year it was for certain?
Oh my! It was in the early 2000s. We were at the dungeon, and I actually worked tables every year. From my first year on, I worked tables every year at the state tournament. And Jack Klein was involved. All of these old workhorses were involved. And I was on the table the year that Jimmy, and I remember it very distinctly, Jimmy Shaw was on the whistle, and the crowd was going absolutely crazy. And I was on the clock, and they kind of went out of bounds, but Jimmy never stopped it. And I stopped the clock. And Jimmy came back over to me after things did get quiet and stopped. And he looked directly at me and he said, "Why did you stop the clock?" He said, "I did not blow the whistle." And I said, "I thought they went out of bounds." And so that was my first taste of, being in the hot seat per se. And so I went and talked to Julian Tackett, kind of called him over to the side at the tournament. And I said, "Julian," I said, I can do this. And he basically said, "Mike, I really think you can." And the next year, I believe he gave me the opportunity. And like I say, it was in the early 2000s. And I can't even tell you how many state tournaments I've done. I've been in and out, depending on the circumstances.
Right.
So yeah, the early 2000s, but I don't remember the first.
And so you've been around the sport for a pretty good while, wrestling and officiating, and doing these officials' perspectives. Like I said, we're making a push to get new officials. Girls wrestling, as of this filming, is not even had its first state tournament yet. We're filming this in November of 23. Boys wrestling teams are growing every single year. We're adding new teams all over the place, all into the state. As a veteran official, as a multiple time state tournament level official, speak a little bit to the new officials that are coming in, or maybe the officials, maybe they've been doing elementary, middle school, JV, they're getting ready to start doing varsity, high school varsity. What pieces, you can give more than one, but pieces of advice would you tell them, or you'd like for them to know, that way they can take that out and use that in the sport?
There's three things that resonate with me that I've learned over the years. The very first thing that I'll say is Jack Klein, when I was first doing state tournaments, he pulled me over to the side because I had gotten into it a little bit with Jim Matney. And he looked me directly in the eye and he said, "Mike Ford, I'm going to tell you this." And he said, and I quote, "Coaches are not your friends." And I thought about that long and hard. And over the years, as you make calls, most coaches, if the call, well, as the old adage says, you're only going to make friends 50% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a true statement. Don't get too chummy with the coaches because, number one, you might be influenced to lean their way if you're in a tight situation. You can be friendly, but just remember you have to stay impartial when you're on the mat. Number two thing is read your rule book. What I do normally every season, and I've already done it twice this season, I get my rule books and I sit down on Sunday mornings in my quiet meditation time, and I'll read that rule book from cover to cover. I'll pull out the case book and I'll review certain things in the case book. And I'll do that multiple times because it's just like anything else. The more times you read it, the more times you go over it, the more it stays in your mind, the easier it is to recall. Mm-hmm. And when you get into pressure situations, you can bring things up and it'll help you out. And then the third thing is, and you've already alluded to it, is that we're trying to get new officials. We're pushing for new officials because we're losing officials every year because of behavior of parents, of coaches, of wrestlers, just the way people attack you because you didn't make the call like they wanted to see. You let that guy choke my kid. If you would have stopped the action, he wouldn't have broke his collarbone. You get statements like this thrown at you all the time. But what you've got to do as an official is understand that you also are human. You want to be in the best position you can, do the best job you can, apply the rules as best you can. But at the end of the day, if you can look in a mirror and say to yourself, I did the best I could. Did I make a mistake? Sure. Learn from it and move on. But don't let everybody get in your head. You've got to let that stuff roll off your back, especially when it's coming from the crowd.
Yeah.
It took me several years, as everyone knows. I've tossed a lot of people for whatever reasons, and I believe I'm within the rules. But if I would let some of that stuff roll off my back, maybe not quite so many people would have been leaving gyms. So let that stuff roll off your back. Don't, unless it is affecting the flow of the match, unless they are inciting the rest of the crowd or the team, just let it go. It's not important. If it's a coach in the corner, and this is the hardest one that you got to learn to do, and I still don't do it like I should. If they don't call you to the table to discuss the rule, to discuss the event or play or whatever, hit them for unsportsmanlike conduct. We have got to get these coaches and everyone under control and understand that if we're going to keep officials, we've got to do things more etiquette, if you will. If you look at surrounding states, you hear it all the time. You see it on the NCAA videos. Those coaches don't get out of those chairs, except the cars. So that's just the way it is. But yeah, those three things I would say to young officials, is to read your rule book, know the rules, let stuff roll off your back, and remember that a coach is not your friend.
And to that point about coaches being in their seat, that's actually right in the rule book. That is
yes,
right
it is
in the rule book. And I've said in other videos, and when I go to some of the on my end of the state, wrestling, there's a lot of new teams popping up, and coaches or principals or whoever it is are familiar with the rule series that we've done, and now the review series. I've done several like 10, 15-minute rule seminars, if you will, just like a basic. This is a takedown. This is near fall. This is an escape. This is reversal. This is we flip a disc in between the first and second periods to determine choice. All that, just as basic as you can get. And I'll usually end it with this saying, like 98% of what we deal with as far as parents being aggravated, coaches, wrestlers, whatever, having issues, is they simply just don't know the rules. They're arguing something, or they're upset about something that was passed down third, fourth hand by somebody that wrestled in whatever year, and their coach never showed them. They just know that whatever. And the biggest one that I like to bring up is like on a mat return, lift, whatever. You'll hear the knee didn't hit first. Knee didn't hit first. That's a slam. His knee. Well, coach, if you would show me that in the rule book, I'd love to see that wording. Show me that in the rule book. Show me that. Actually, I had a duel last night, and after the duel was over, he took me off to the side, like we was cleaning up, and he said, "Doesn't the knee have to hit first on a lift like that?" And I was like, "Coach, I know that's the common phrase, but there's nothing you will find in the rule book or case manual that says anything about a knee having to hit first for it to be called a slam. It's a lifting. Now, if you drive, that's a little bit different. We'll call it every time, but just a lift, return back to the mat. There's nothing saying a knee has to hit first." I was like, "Oh, I've always been told that." I was like, "Well, I'm sorry, but coach, you've been misled. Maybe not on purpose. The other person just didn't know." So I echo what you're saying about knowing the rule book. And something too, while you were saying about coach taking you to the table, is to my knowledge, I don't think soccer does. I don't think I know basketball doesn't, football, but I believe wrestling is the only sport where a coach actually has to go to the table, a score table, and speak to the referee in that manner. And it's, if they're questioning your judgment, why did you call it this way? Or they're questioning a rule misinterpretation. I mean,
Yep.
that's,
Coach
that's a coach
misconduct.
misconduct. And that actually happened last year in the state finals. I mean, there was a coach that brought his rule book out, went to the head. You were actually
Yep.
working that table, you and Kristen,
Yep.
and the referee made the
Witnessed it.
right call for coach misconduct. But, and that's the coaches are going to fight for their kids. We know that, but guys, please, guys and girls, please stay in your seats. I mean, it's not that difficult to do. We know everybody's invested in these kids, and then to the time that you put in, the practice, the travel, all that kind of stuff. But just two in the corner and stay seated when the clock is running. So, Mike, when we got this set up, I asked you, do you have a favorite state tournament match? Because you've done a bunch. Do you have one that sticks out? Do you have one that's like, your favorite? And when you sent me this guy's name, I was like, no, you can't pick this guy. All the people you could pick, you had to pick this guy. Why in the world? And for some reason, you picked the 2007 state finals match with Harrison Courtney of Woodford County and Bo Sanders of Harrison County. And you was like, when you said Harrison, I was like, no, we can't do Harrison. No, not anybody but Harrison. And the Harrison, in case you don't know, Harrison and his dad Brent, we've become friends doing this. They've helped me out a lot, and I've kind of become really good friends with them. So Harrison's a 4-time state champion, won Kentucky's best, just an absolute animal. He reminds me of one of the Marvel superhero characters, like Thor. Of course, now he has the hair and all that kind of stuff, but a bit longer hair, or he did the last time I saw him, I believe. I'm just like, this guy could be, with his wrestling ability and just the way, like, he's thick through the chest, thick through the arms. Like, man, this guy could be in the Marvel series. So Harrison, and what's cool about it, this Mike, is I've got technology now. I can mute all that. Everybody but Harrison can hear it whenever he watches it. I'll make sure that I encrypt it so Harrison can't hear what I just said about him, bragging about him. So before we pull up Harrison's video, Mike, there's a whole generation of Kentucky high school wrestling, whether it's wrestlers, parents, officials, coaches, administrators to the sport, that never got to attend a event at the Dungeon. The Dungeon is by far the best atmosphere the KHSAA ever produced. It's not even close. So kind of in your words, getting to officiate there, kind of give your take, your description on the Dungeon.
The Dungeon, in my opinion, from what I've witnessed, is it is the most electrifying. It's like a Roman Colosseum, because everybody is surrounding you, and clear down to the floor. They are within 3 feet of the mat. The crowd is on that front row of seats. Of course, they always block them off, but they were. They were basically involved in the action. The excitement of the teams side by side chanting. Woodford County for many years dominated. Union counties started dominating. You had Trinity, you had St. X. All of these teams that would and they had the milk jugs with the rocks in them. They had the glow sticks. They had noise makers. And the thing about the Dungeon is that it all funneled down to, so all that noise, everything was with you. And it was just a great atmosphere. At the face-off just kind of built it up. They'd play the loud music. They got the spotlight going. It's just electrifying if you ever got to play in the Dungeon. It was when we went from the Dungeon to the horse park, it was like everybody was in shock. It was like, what just happened? So it's I don't know if they'll ever match it. So far they have not. So,
I was going to say, I would gladly take up the responsibility of like an atmosphere coordinator or atmosphere planner, because I know I could. You're not going to replicate the dungeon, but I would love the opportunity to at least have the chance to make it something better than what it is now, because I know that, I think you guys have seen my creativity, my cinematic skills. I would love the ability to produce something better than what we have now. And that's no offense to anybody that's involved in the arena setup or anything of that nature. It's just, I think I could do, I think I could make it a spectacle. I could make it into something that's like, this is pay-per-view caliber. This
yeah,
is,
yeah,
something we would see on like a professional, like even the NCAA finals, they have the big flame shooters and all
right.
that
I mean,
stuff.
that's what the dungeon was. That it gave you that
It did.
enthusiasm. It really
It, it,
did.
it really, the dungeon gave you the event of, this is a state championship event. There's no, you could have any knowledge about a sport and you walked into that building, you would know there is something on the line here. There is
Yeah.
something at stake. So, Mike, we're going to pull up Harrison's video here. And I will say before we get into it that this is filmed from the crowd. We got this video from Josh Ashbrook from
Okay.
Harrison County. So I think Josh said it was his mother that was filming this. So
Before you start the video, let me just throw a couple things in there why I chose Harrison Courtney. Okay. I have refereed Harrison Courtney at 3 of his 4 Woodford County Invitational titles. And at the time, the Woodford County Invitational was basically a prelude to what you would see at the state tournament. The caliber of wrestling, the caliber of competition was that good. And I was fortunate enough to be able to raise Courtney Harrison's hand 3 of the 4 titles that he won at the Woodford County Invitational. What I learned from Harrison Courtney is that wrestlers, this is a vicious physical sport. It teaches you discipline. It teaches you how to be rough, but yet stay within boundaries. It teaches you manners. It teaches you respect. And Harrison, to me, I mean, I never heard that kid say terse words. I never heard that kid not say thank you or nod or acknowledge something kind that was said or given to him. The kid just impresses me all aspects of what wrestling is supposed to be. He is an ambassador of how a wrestler should be. And I picked this match because the Harrison County both of these wrestlers, they both love leg wrestling. Harrison is a leg connoisseur wrestler. Bo also, I've reffed many of Bo's matches, and he'll, like Harrison, he would get the legs in and go. We'll see what he does in this match, but Harrison, true to form, and as an official, I was ready for it, and so that's why this match is one of my favorite matches.
And yeah, Mike, thank you for sharing that. And it should also be noted that this was a 1 of 2 because these guys also matched up in 2008 for the state championship as well. So you got a 1 of 2 here. So Mike, man, here we go. So when you've got 2 high-level wrestlers here, Mike, what are we looking for? What are you positioning yourself a little bit further away? You letting action just happen?
Yeah. What we've learned over time is the further away you get, the more action you can see. You can hold your call a little longer to be sure on the takedown. And one of the things that I like about Harrison is he's no bones about it. He goes out there, and when he's ready to pop a move, he pops it. And you see in the video, it took him when he finally moved to do the takedown. It was a done deal, and he immediately throws in the legs, as you see, which is what Harrison does. And he doesn't get on there and just ride and stall. Harrison gets on there and he goes to work. And he almost always starts with that power half. So and that's what he's doing. So I kind of knew what he was going to do. So I'm in position to anticipate where he's going so that I can see and make sure I get the right calls.
Right. And I believe you've got Barnett as your assistant on this one. So pretty good referee and crew out there.
Yeah.
A lot of experience out there.
Davey is a super official, was a super official. A lot of respect for Davey. He was very highly respected when I came into wrestling as an official. He was one of the top. So I felt honored having him helping me out in this.
Yeah. And Harrison still got that leg in. It's like he's trying to.
He's what he's trying to get is he's trying to work toward a guillotine right here.
Yep.
But Bo, being a leg wrestler, knows how to counter, and he stopped most of the time. He was able to prevent Harrison from doing anything. Harrison does eventually. It'll come up, but he'll eventually get some near fall going on a power half, and then again on a tilt. So,
and guys, we apologize again for the camera. Cameras were not what they are in 2007 is what they are now. But I'm just glad that we have the video. We were able to get it from Josh. So, end of the period, you pull out your flip disc.
Yep.
Look at, I believe Harrison won the toss.
Harrison chose bottom right away because he doesn't. He's good at escaping, and that's usually what he does. He usually escapes, turns around and goes to work, and procures a takedown, or he'll get his reversal. Like I say, he's the ideal wrestler. He's constantly working.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said before, if you look in the background, you see Joe standing up doing.
I was going to say, Coach Carr, have a seat. Coach, have a seat.
Yeah. Good luck on that one.
Yeah, for real.
There he goes. He sit out reversal. But see, like I say, Bo's a leg wrestler too, knows how to counter. But Harrison did get around almost. He did slip out on the bottom, and he comes around, gets a hold of the legs, and he does procure the reversal. Here, I think he's working. Looks like he's trying to work an armbar series. Of course, they go out of bounds. So let's go back to the center. Try it again, fellas. Now, the out of bounds back then is a whole lot different than the out of bounds now. Used to be. If a wrestler stepped out, you were stopping the match. Of course, here we have a false start on Harrison.
Yeah, a little bit of a caution there.
But yeah, the out of bounds are called a little bit different now than they were. Mm-hmm. The changing rules can be somewhat difficult for officials to constantly deal with, but. We just do the best we can. We're an NFHS state, meaning we go by the rule book.
So right there, you caught a stalemate. That's good.
Yeah. As long as when both wrestlers are not making any progress, I probably go a little longer than most officials. But if nobody's making any progress, I'll go ahead and stalemate them up, give them an opportunity to start again, because sometimes somebody can be stalling, and it's not obvious enough for me to call it. And so what I do by doing that is give that wrestler. Here again, we're doing a tilt. Harrison got him in a tilt. I start the count. I only get a 1 count. Harrison comes out of the 45-degree angle, so there's no near fall. He gets him down again. We go again. I believe I'm going to drop down here in a minute for another count.
Period?
Oh no, we're the end of the period here.
Yep.
We're at the end of the period. But I know there was a couple of times that I got a 1 count, but I never did get the 2 in to get the near fall.
I believe Harrison's got Joe Sr. and Joe Jr. in the corner, and they're both standing. I love you guys.
Yeah.
We know
The
you're
funny
going to watch
thing
it.
the funny thing is those two guys, it's their mirror images of each other. It's so funny. It
Yeah.
really is.
Somebody standing up
Yeah,
in
this
front of the
camera angle just doesn't do it any justice.
And
Bo's also a very powerful guy. If you look at the build of Bo, it's very similar to Harrison. So you had two very well matched wrestlers here in terms of strength.
And it's almost a battle of horse country, Harrison County and Woodford County.
Yes. The crowd during this match. I mean, this was during the years when Woodford brought the town to the state finals, and the noisemakers and Harrison County was geared up, and they brought several people. So yeah, this was an electrifying match. This was really a great match. I got to admit, especially at the dungeon.
Woodford County to Frankfort isn't that far of a drive. Harrison County to Frankfort isn't that far of a drive. So you could have, like I said, just about the whole town there in the building. So Harrison throws in a leg immediately right out of the gate.
Like I said, Harrison's a leg man every time. That's what he does. You see it right there. He gets up, he gets his weight a little bit high, and then he pops those legs in, and he basically has his will. Here he's got him down. He's trying to work in on the power half. But as I say, Bo's a counter move. He's lifting that toe, keeping Harrison from doing what he wants to do. So it's quite the chess match.
Mm-hmm. Right there, you're getting a count.
I'm getting a count. Now, see, this is the one time I got a 5 count. So he does get his near fall, but I believe this is the only near fall. I don't remember exactly what the final score of the match was, but it was close, and that near fall basically put it out of Bo's reach.
Yeah, and that was Harrison's second state championship, like we said, 06, 07, 08, and 09. State champion, 4-timer, one of Kentucky's very few. And when you know how wrestlers wrestle, you know what their bread and butter is, you can kind of, once you, like I said, see kids, you said, okay, this guy's a leg rider. The gentleman that was in the 106-pound finals this year, it was Blevins, and the kid from Harrison County, George Dennis. Dennis is a takedown cut machine. I mean, he tech falls just about everybody, takedown cut. So when I know I got him coming up, right out of the gate, I'm looking for a takedown. Okay, I know a couple of seconds. He's going to cut. 2, 1, 2. I mean, that's basically what you're doing. So new officials or even, refs that's been in it for a while, if you are familiar with a certain team style, a certain wrestler style, just kind of put yourself, like Mike said, in position to be able, this certain team is going to throw. Okay, be ready to, stop it if you need to, if they trap that on potentially dangerous, or if they're, maybe a little bit of a slam. Just little things like that you pick up on. So, Mike, man, you excellent job there in the finals. You didn't really have to interject yourself, if you will. You didn't. No. You let the kids decide that, but it was a clean match, no penalties. I think Harrison had maybe one false start, I think. But like I said,
that's
clean match. And that's our goal, is just to be out there, be out of the way, and let the kids decide it.
That's correct. And like I say, that's why I picked Harrison and Bo, because they both are great wrestlers. They know the rules, And that's another thing is wrestlers have to also know the rules and be aware of what's dangerous, potentially dangerous,
Right.
and know the results of these things. So everybody kind of understands it. The coach comes into play where what he coaches the kid to do. You know, you don't want to see a dirty coach coaching kids on illegal moves and things. You know, that's why as an official, we're there also to kind of watch for that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, Harrison and Bo are both great wrestlers. They both had great careers. And to this day, I respect them both.
Absolutely. Now, earlier in the video, we kind of let you speak to the newer officials coming into the sport. We're Kentucky across the board, wrestling, like we said earlier, is growing. Girls wrestling, boys wrestling is growing, more teams, different places across the state. So speak to the newer coaches into the sport, the newer parents, the new people that are new to the sport that aren't an official. What, give them your pieces of advice you would like them to know as somebody coming into the sport.
First and foremost, to the coaches, you need to set an example to these kids. You need to set an example to the parents as to how to act and also how to handle your wrestlers. A lot of these wrestlers, they get more out of what the coach is doing with them than they do out of their parents. So it's a heavy burden that falls on your shoulders, but you need to teach these kids how to respect, how to do things right. When a coach goes crazy in a corner, or when a coach goes nuts at an official and stomps out to the on the mat, all he's doing is inciting the crowd, the wrestlers, and showing very poor behavior. So to new coaches, I implore you to control yourself and teach these kids what it is that you want them to know: respect, mastery of the rules, meaning you yourself need to read the rules every year. We see coaches, just like you alluded to earlier. What about the knee coming down first? Well, hell, that's been gone for what, 15, 20 years? I mean, it's been gone for a long time. There's so many things that have changed since you wrestled. So, you know, go online, look at the rule book, read it, even if it's just once, it at least gives you an idea of the rules. When you jump to conclusions, I know you want to respect and cheer for your kid and try to take care of your kid out on the mat, but understand that the official is there with the same goal that you do, is to let the kids do the wrestling, and the best outcome come from fair play and respect. Teach them that.
All right. Yeah. Excellent advice for the coaches. Now, what about like for the newer parents, newer guardians, newer, I guess, family members into the sport? Because, you know, wrestling for the most part, when Big Brother wrestles or whoever, the family's going to be there, or, you know, now sisters are getting into it. So to the family that's maybe never been to a wrestling event, or they've the only wrestling they know is WWF style, kind of speak to them as well.
Okay, so anybody that's involved in wrestling, you start when your kid is about 6 or 7 years old. Okay, and this is a time when your child goes out on the mat and he or she is first exposed to wrestling, and sometimes these kids can be kind of rough, and they get rougher when they get up into the middle school. But as a parent, you have to understand that the officials and the coaches have got it under control as best they can. They are not letting the other kid abuse your kid or choke your kid or hurt your child. That's not what they're letting happen. You have to remember that wrestling is a violent sport. It is mano a mano. It is, it's the gladiator style. best man win. We don't fight to the death, but it's best man win within a certain set of rules. So kind of hold yourself back, starting in the early years. And as you get up into the high school ranks, you'll start to understand more of what's going on out on the mat. And if you want to read the rules, I'm sure that parents can get online at the KHSAA website and either purchase rule books or at least get online and read them. And then they have a little bit better understanding. But the big
Yeah.
is not
Well,
happening.
and to a point that you alluded to a little bit earlier, after a meet is over, you see an official maybe going to the hospitality room, or maybe they're on break or whatever, and you come up respectfully. Hey, my name's so-and-so. I'm new, or I'm with this team. I have a question about this. Could you explain this to me? And if you do it respectfully, I would say just about everybody is going to give you an explanation that maybe you don't agree with, but they'll at least give you an explanation within what the rule book says. But if you come up acting, like Mike said, like a belligerent, crazy person, you're probably going to have the side administration be pointed out, hey, this person, we need to get them, they got to
Right.
go. It's not referees' jobs is not to actually remove anybody. Our responsibility is to notify the side administration, hey, the guy over here in the blue shirt, kind of a bigger dude, he's got it. We're not wrestling anymore till he's out of here.
Yeah,
He's
you make a
not-
great point. You make a great point, Alex, in that, if somebody comes up to you, and I don't care if it's a coach, a wrestler, a parent, if they come up to you off to the side and respectfully ask you, hey, I didn't understand that. Can you help me to understand why you called it that way, or help me to understand the rule or whatever? I don't know of very many officials that would not take the time to explain it, because that's what we're there for. We're wanting to give back. We want everybody to understand it. And if it's done respectfully, I don't think there'll be a problem. You'll get a good answer.
And with the visibility that the review series has brought to myself, and most people know I started off the YouTube journey doing high school wrestling rules, and we've heard from people from all over every state. I mean, I couldn't tell you the number of people that have watched videos, and I know some of them do need to be updated. I know that some of the rules have changed, and my video skills weren't the best, but I still had the vision, and I was like, this is how I can contribute. But it's a good starting point to learn certain rules. And there's rules, there's exceptions, there's footnotes under the exceptions. Like if we posted the injury, everybody knows you get a minute and a half injury time. 3 injury timeouts terminates the match. But if we put on here on the screen, I may do that. I may put the KHSAA injury timeout exception list. There's exception after exception after exception. Was it taken in the second period? Was it taken in the third? Was it taken into overtime? And that's stuff that we have to know during the action.
Yes.
We
Yes.
have to know that.
I'll tell you, Dave Wolterman, he was an official many years ago. He's one of the ones that kind of took me under his wing as well and helped me out quite a bit. Dave Wolterman, he's told me there's intent of a rule and there's black and white. Mm-hmm. And we deal with intent of the rule quite a bit. So, yes, there's a lot to know, and it takes many years before you know. In fact, I still don't know everything. I really don't. I make mistakes, but you also got to be a big enough man as an official to admit that you've made a mistake. If it's pointed out properly, you've got to be able to admit you make a mistake and correct it. And
every year we have the KWOA has a preseason referees meeting, and there's sometimes we have discussions 25, 30, 40 minutes on one video. No, that's not, that should have been potentially dangerous when this, or, we can't call it that way. And like even somebody will post a clip of a video. what would you call? And it's great to see all
Yep.
I would call this, in the legal slam, I would call this, yada, yada. And everybody's like, no, but this and that. It really helps us along the way get different viewpoints and see what everybody's thought process is. But we're all pretty close in the same ballpark, the same area. It's just, when would it have been stopped, or what was you looking at, or all that kind of stuff. So, and we'll wrap it up by saying this. Speaking from a guy that has a YouTube channel, we know everybody has one of these or some type of video recording device. We know that. If you're at an event and you think that your child or the person you're there to support or whatever gets cheated, or a certain ref let something, this ref is biased towards my school, or whatever. And I don't know how many times I've heard, I'm sending this video into the KHSAA. You'll never referee at this school again, yada, yada. The only time the KHSAA is really going to look at a video is if there's like a fight involving participants at the event coming off the bench, something, so they can administer penalties through the school. Instead of being a crazy person and saying you're going to post all over Facebook and you'll never referee again, reach out to some of the veteran officials, send us what you have. That way we can use it in training and say, okay, this happened at this school. Let's watch it. Okay, yeah, maybe should have been stopped. Maybe should have been called this for future reference. That's what we'll do. Hey, anytime you have this situation, we'll stop it here, or we'll let this play out a little bit longer, or whatever it is. But please don't be that person that's running around, oh my God, I'm going to put you, you're going to be over you. Come on, let's not do that. Let's not be that person, and let's just enjoy our time there with our sport. So, Mike, man, we've covered a lot of ground, a lot of topics, a lot of good topics, things that need to be said. Before we wrap this one up, do you have anything you'd like to add, take away for the greater good?
Just what you just got done touching base on about taking videos to try to better the association by submitting them. We actually do that. The wrestling community has their own web page that only officials can be part of. The Kentucky Wrestling Officials Association has their own web page that only our members can be part of. And we do exactly what you're talking about. We take videos of things that happen that somebody sends in, and we use them as teaching tools. So continue to do that. But like Alex said, submit them for our educational use, and it will better officiating in the long run. But we're all here for the same reason: love of the sport.
That's right. And we're filming this on the Thursday evening on the 30th. I had a wrestling meet last night, a quad. I've got a youth meet Friday, a high school meet Saturday, a youth meet Sunday. I've got a varsity meet Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I think I've got like the next only like 2 days of not having a meet. So if you're interested in joining us, I'll put the link to join us in the description below. We'd love to have you. You can reach out to myself. I'll do my best to help you. If you think you can do better than we can, come join us.
Exactly.
That's what I tell people all the time. If you know so much, come join us. We'd love to have you out here. I'd love to be able to yell at you like you're doing me. But Mike, man, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. A lot of like I said, a lot of good ground was covered, and I know a lot of people are going to enjoy this. Finally, getting to put a little bit of a backstory to the guy they've seen on the map for a long time. A lot of people are enjoying the with Joe, Andrew, Rocky, Jason, Jimmy Shaw, Pickle. We've done Barnett, like a lot of guys, a couple other guys lined up. So it's just good that we can have our own story told, because I think we put as much into this as a lot of the wrestlers. Maybe not the physical aspect of training, whatever, but as far as being the best that we can be, we put a lot into this. We do.
Yeah,
we really put a lot into it, and we put in a lot because it would not be right for us to go out there and not give the kids 100% whenever they're giving 100% themselves. So that's just the way that we look at it. So, Mike, man, thank you for being here.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you for
watching.
Thank you,
Alex. Appreciate what you do.
I mean, I enjoy it. It's a labor of love, man. Labor of love. But guys, you'll see myself and Mike on the mats. We'll see you there.
Yes, you will.